Yeah, working on that right now.
Okay.
Okay, you should be live.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Delegate Pam Queen, this is the subcommittee meeting for banking, commercial, consumer protection, commercial law. And so we want to undertake three bills to discuss this afternoon: HB 38, HB 118, and HB 237. So actually, two of those bills are actually sponsored by me. So I'm just going to briefly talk about them and we can
Move favorable. No, I'm joking.
give me a second. I'll let you say that in a minute. All right, let me pull this up. All right. Okay, so just as a reminder, HB 38 is actually clarifying the licensing and affiliation insurance for mortgage loan originators. And so we had some legislation. Well, we had this bill put forward and worked with Office of Financial Regulations to make sure that we were appropriately classifying these persons who are mortgage loan originators, not necessarily needing the license uh, as is provided for other um, uh, banks and the banks and lenders that they work with. I always mess up in describing this bill. I'm sorry for that. But any questions about this? So anything, I think we heard from Office of Financial Regulations at the hearing, but anything you want to say, Director Salazar,
Uh,
or any comments need to be made about this bill? Any
uh,
questions anyone has?
yeah, I'm here to answer questions. Happy to do that. I know Delegate, we're no objection to the bill. We did send over some language earlier today that was just a clarifying word amendment, I guess. It wasn't picked up in drafting as to who is exactly a sponsor, because apparently there's different uses of the word. So we want to make sure that sponsor is a mortgage lender who's exempt from licensing. And I think Amy Hennon, our assistant commissioner, sent you that language earlier this afternoon. And
Okay.
that's all we have.
I probably have not seen that, so I need to put that in the amendment office before we would vote on this. Is that your preference?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Okay, no
Thank you.
problem with that. Anyone else have any other concerns? So I will make an amendment regarding what was sent over. And asking council, could we address this at the voting session? Or can we still vote it out and with the amendment pending, or what's the thoughts on that?
So you have an amendment that you did sponsor and you introduced the longer amendment. I didn't know if you wanted to discuss that, but regarding the amendment that Amy shared, if you would like to, you guys can discuss it, and then after you guys can discuss it and then vote on it because you have the language. So if you want to share the language, you can then have it drafted after you vote.
Okay, I would have to pull it up. Let me see what she sent me. Give me a second.
This will also be a really great time if you would like Amy or someone from the office to explain it while you look for it.
That might be helpful too. Let me find it though.
Happy to do that. This is what Commissioner Salazar just described. The word sponsor is used in a couple of different ways in the context of our office. And so we want to ensure that the word how sponsor is used with the context of this bill, that who is sponsoring this mortgage loan originator, that is clear, that so that our office can regulate these individuals appropriately.
Yeah, I just found it. Basically says, since sponsor has a different use in the NMLS, defining it in this bill would be greatly beneficial. So, and it describes what a sponsor means. Given that language is basically one line. Sponsor means a mortgage lender or person who is exempt from licensing as a mortgage lender on whose behalf a licensee engages in the business of mortgage loan origination as identified in the licensee's license application. So, as I mentioned in the hearing, this bill was more of a clarifying language bill so that we could clarify what mortgage loan originators should be licensed or not. And so, again, we've worked with OFR on this, and I don't have a problem with accepting this amendment. I think it's simple enough that we could have it drafted and discuss it if need be, later this week in a voting session. So I would like, unless anyone else has any issues, to possibly move this bill.
Just real quickly, Madam Subcommittee Chair, you also still have your original amendment that you.
Yeah, but my amendment I talked about in the hearing, that it was forthcoming to make that clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think it's not new. It's not anything different than what they heard. Delegate Pippi?
Yeah. So you can see our hands up, right?
I can see him. I said,
Okay.
that's what I
All
told
right.
you.
So can we really quickly go through the purpose of the bill prior to the discussion on the amendments?
Sure. Give me 1 second. My apologies. I should have pulled all this stuff up before I got on the call, but I did not. And then while I'm pulling that up, Delegate Rogers, your question?
Yes, Madam Chair. Just wanted to know if this was, which I think the answer is no, if we'd heard this last year. And then secondly, I didn't see any opposition, but is there anybody who has any consternation with this?
I'm not aware of any opposition, and I don't believe we heard this last year, but I don't know if anyone knows from OFR, was this brought up before?
I believe that the last time this issue came up was in 2009, when the legislation that had originally created this particular kind of mortgage loan originator license was established. And OFR included in our testimony, we haven't had any licensees with this designation since 2020. And OFR is also not aware of any opposition.
Thank
And no
you.
one
Amber.
signed up
Thank
in
you, Madam Chair.
opposition to it.
Can we hear what the bill does?
Yeah. I am trying to, I don't know why I was trying to bring up my testimony to talk exactly what it did, but for some reason I am not seeing it. But okay, give me a second. I will do that. My apologies. It is my bill and I should be able to recite it a lot better than I am, but okay. Okay, so as was mentioned, since 2004, we've had these insurance agents who are actually co-regulated as mortgage loan operators. And so what we were doing with this bill is allowing them to not necessarily be co-regulated under one particular licensed mortgager, but to be able to work with other existing mortgages. So it gave them more freedom to be, permit them to have insurance, to work with insurance agents that aren't necessarily under their license. I think that's the best way for me to try to explain it.
Can I, Madam Chair, if you do you mind, can I ask someone from OFR to
Yeah, you
just
can.
okay. Just so for someone who wants to chime in, so does this bill create less regulation, or does this require less licensing for someone, or give someone who has an existing license more freedom to do something that they're not currently permitted to do? How would you summarize what we're trying to do here?
The last statement you just said. So this allows independent insurance agents to be licensed mortgage lenders without having to be tied to one particular company. So before, if you were an independent mortgage broker,
Mhm.
right, a mortgage issuer, you had to be tied to somebody who was up here. Now you could have one, and you were tied to them, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know, pull a company, Progressive. You had to do Progressive, and that was it. You
Okay.
couldn't be representing other insurance companies. So this allows agents to have different insurers while at the same time doing their mortgage lending business, subject to one of them.
And this is what they're asking for, the people that
Yes.
participate in that field? Okay,
Yes.
so it's helpful to their industry.
Yeah, which certainly expands it. Maryland's the only state with this type of restriction.
And then last question is, if you're, let's say, the agent who's tied to Progressive, what do you have to do now to work with another company? What would you have to do without this change?
But you'd have to switch. If you
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to write loans, you couldn't do that for anybody but the one that you're tied to.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, did that answer your questions?
I think so. It's yeah. I think it's enough to get me past today.
So do you want us to hold this, or can we vote it out and make sure we put the amendment on, that the last amendment that was added by OFR this morning, and address it this week with the voting session?
So, can we vote on something that we don't have in front of us, or can we vote conceptually? Or how
Yes.
does it?
That's what I wanted to jump in on. Madam Chair, I would suggest that we vote, if we get an explanation of an amendment and vote conceptually on that, get the explanation of the other amendment, vote conceptually, move it through the subcommittee, and then we'll have the actual amendments in front of us in a reprint, hopefully by the time we're at a bill, a full voting session.
Yes, that's
What I would
what
suggest
we're
we do
asking,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the conceptual amendment was mentioned earlier by Amy Hennon. And I
So-
read it, what she emailed me.
So if it's okay, Madam Chair, I'll move that conceptual amendment favorable, and then we'll move your conceptual amendment favorable, and then we'll move the bill conceptually favorable with both of those.
Can you restate the two conceptions real quick, and then we'll, if that's all right? And then can we do that?
Maybe Amy could do that first one.
I don't know that the first one was a major change from what you saw. That's why I got to pull that amendment up.
Happy to explain that the request that OFR had included was that the definition for the word sponsor,
Right.
as in who is the sponsoring agency, would be included.
Okay.
So I
And-
would move that conceptually favorable.
So Madam Vice Chair, could we not move the amendments, both of them at the
Sure.
same time, and then move the bill as amended with both of them? Just trying to, save a little time.
We can, I just, because Delegate Pippi was trying to understand what we were moving, I was just doing them in chunks, but now if everyone's clear about that amendment, now Delegate Queen can reiterate her amendment, and then we can move them both together, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, I got to find my amendment to reiterate, but go ahead. I think okay, go ahead. But let me find the amendment. That's my
Take your time.
problem. So go ahead. Amendment. So you don't have questions on the First Amendment, correct?
No,
Okay. And
I
I'm
mean,
not
correct. Yeah, correct.
I'm not
No.
remembering what it was another change, I think, that was requested. Do you remember OFR at all, the last amendment that came in on this at all? Because I thought it was already in, but I don't know if it was already in.
So from the reprint that I have, the amendments that were added to the bill were technical in nature. Just adjusting some of the language that had been added. I think that there had been a miscommunication. My understanding was that there was a miscommunication with drafting in how the bill was drafted. And so this was just correcting some of those issues.
So it wasn't substantive. It was just,
No, what was substantive, I discussed at the hearing. That's why I'm not as familiar with those last few changes. Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I think what we need to do, just since we're not looking at the amendments, is the substantive stuff that you discussed at the hearing. If you can just articulate what that is, then we can conceptually adopt that, plus this new one, and then we can vote for all of it together when we're looking at a reprint at the next voting session.
So the substantive part of the bill is that we are basically allowing mortgage loan originators to be able to operate under multiple insurances. And so that is the major change. And so the other parts that we cleaned up was language in defining what was a sponsor and some of the other language regarding the terms we use to refer to the mortgage loan originator and that relationship that they had previously had with insurance agents. So that, I mean, that's really, it's a clarifying bill. I don't know what more to call it except for until you pull it up and see it.
Okay, so I move those amendments.
Second.
all right. So just now that we're in the discussion period, so what was the second amendment again? I got the first one. The first one was clarifying the word sponsor. I got the gist of
That's
what the
actually
bill
the
does.
second one.
Okay.
The first one is which I can't seem to find because I thought it was already in. But what Amy had intended to say from the reprint was just technical changes to make sure the language was consistent.
Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine for now. So, all right. I'm ready.
You okay?
Yeah. I just, hey, unfortunately we have to read the bills, but that's fine.
I understand. I understand. This one, because we work so closely with OFR, I was pretty certain that whatever they came up with, we were basically putting into place. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. We're ready to go.
All right. So now we can take a vote. It's been moved. And second, to move it by the amendments as conceptualized. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Erica, are you taking roll on this or I need to? Okay, you got it?
I'm going to move the bill as amended.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. And so we can just say all in favor is aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All righty, okay, so we will move that one forward. Thank you. Okay, the second one we wanted to talk about is HB 1118. And this one was definitely a little bit more confusing, but we were trying to separate the definition of money transmitters from the people who process payrolls. And I would like OFR, if they don't mind, to kind of explain the issue here and what this bill kind of does, if that's okay.
Sure. So, Madam Chair, no problem. So what this bill does is it removes payroll processors from the definition of money transmitters under the Maryland Money Transmission Act. And I think, there was a question before during the hearing, if I recall correctly, whether or not, people needed licenses on this. And right now, if a company engages in payroll, and nothing else, they need a money transmitter's license. So what this bill would do is remove them from the requirement to get a money transmitter license, which would benefit the small Maryland payroll companies. If any payroll company engages in other activity that constitutes payroll money transmission, they would still need a license. But what this does is it frees some of the smaller companies who all they do is process payroll from the requirement that they be licensed as money transmitters.
Less regulation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that means you probably want to move this one since it's
Right, I was saying,
less.
regulations, what you like, right?
Rogers is stereotyping me, but you know, it sounds like it's a potentially pro-business, less regulation type bill.
I love it. I love it. Your words, not mine. All credit due to my good friend from Frederick County.
So are we okay with this bill? Any other discussion needed on this bill at all?
Are there any amendments?
No, it's no amendments on this one.
Okay.
I got this one right the
Move
first.
it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to move this bill favorably. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, no, that was not one.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, HB 237, I did want to at least bring it up. I don't know if we'll be ready to vote on this one, but I do want to make sure that everybody kind of knows at least some of the conversations that are going on, because this also has a cross file, and I believe the cross file has been heard. But HB 237 is the Earned Wage Access Bill that we, I think, voted out last year. And it has come back with the two changes, I believe. One to update it to not have tips. And it is another change.
This is the Earned Wage Access Bill.
Yeah,
Department of
this is the
Labor.
Earned Wage Access Bill. I know it has one change to do not have tips, and another change, I think
It was an
made-
amendment. I remember it was an amendment to have it to stop stacking. I think that was the term that they used.
Madam Chair, can we hear from Andrew? from
Madam
Department
Chair.
Yeah,
of
I
Labor?
do. I want to ask Department of Labor to come in on this one to talk about the two changes. Please.
Sure. Our
Sure.
original bill was, as Madam Chair mentioned, number one was to prohibit tipping in these types of in loan transactions like these and loan transactions. And then number two, we believe that last year when the bill went through the process, it did not include, for whatever reason, omission, probably two provisions on anti-discrimination language and unfair and deceptive language. So those were two provisions that are in and applicable to all other lenders. So we wanted to bring that language into this bill so that the providers could not discriminate based on unlawful bases or engage in unfair and deceptive practices. So it's kind of two or three, depending on how you look at it.
And
But
were there other changes to the version that went over to the Senate?
This year or last year?
No, this year.
This year. Well, so
Senate
there
did-
were amendments that we understand have been proposed, and I can maybe let Amy or Andrew talk a little bit about those, if they're up to it, because I wasn't involved in all the day-to-day as to where those are.
Yeah, I think Andrew might know as well. He came by my office. So Andrew, do you want to talk about the changes on the Senate side as well?
Sure, I'm happy to chime in. So the Senate hasn't made any changes and they haven't brought their
Oh,
version of the bill
okay.
up. So I don't want to speak. My understanding is there are amendments that are being discussed outside of what our bill directly addresses. So, as you mentioned, our bill specifically speaks to the tipping and to the provisions the commissioner raised, that anti-discrimination and false advertising. I don't know if you wanted to bring up amendments that the Senate Finance Committee has not brought up yet, but our understanding is there are some other requests from other groups to make some changes to the bill that aren't in the version before you.
Only if I thought they had already discussed it. I mean, only because I wanted us to have all of the issues out there for us to discuss. We are not going to vote on it today, but at least we would kind of know what to be looking for.
I'm happy. So one of the provisions, and this was discussed at the hearing, is stacking. I think Delegate Ampry mentioned it. The governor also raised this in his letter last year when he allowed the bill to go forward. There is concern that individuals who are, likely users of earned wage access products, often because of their income, and others are get stuck in a cycle of debt. And one of the ways they could do this is what they referred to as stacking. So they are effectively taking loans out on their paychecks. And one way they would stack that is if they took, say, a $50 loan or a $100 loan out in their paycheck from one provider, and then went to another and took another $100 out from another provider, and so on and so forth. So there has been some discussion about how to sort of get at that issue and prevent people from taking out more than their income would be through these products.
Okay, and that's the only things, so we know about the tipping that was in the version we saw, and the anti-discrimination language that was in the version that we heard and that we have in HB 237. And the other topic is this idea of preventing stacking. Is that correct?
For clarity's sake, I'm sorry, Delegate, please go ahead.
No, I think I just want to, again, if you all can't hear me, or if it's choppy, let me know. My reception's a little wonky at my hotel. I apologize. But the thing I wanted to highlight was I definitely want to dive deeper on this bill, because I've heard from both sides of the conversation on this, and where I'm concerned is we are putting our policies, we're hedging our bets on the policies that have been enacted in Connecticut around stacking, and however they haven't enacted them yet. They're not even up and running. So and what I've heard is that there is not full-fledged technology to really study or ensure the stacking can take place. I agree. I think stacking is a problem, and we should figure out a way to prevent it, in the sense that I don't want people over extending themselves financially. However, I think it's unfair to put a regulation on a business that doesn't have the technology or things set up to do so. I think it's an onerous thing to do. And, Connecticut doesn't even have anything up and running yet in the EWA space, according to my knowledge. So I want to dive deeper on that understanding, because what I want to do is I want to create a world where this is accessible, because I think it is a usable tool. The unfortunate reality is our biggest user in the state, according to my numbers, is the Prince George's County public schools system. So we literally have educators who need this to make ends meet. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do we do the stacking in a way that's fair and reasonable for the business community to be able to do it. And I do know, based on what I understand, is that, there's no penalty if you don't pay back. You just can't use the service anymore. So, there is a natural way that it is disencouraged, because you won't be able to borrow again. So, unlike if you use a credit card, if you have 20 credit cards and you borrow money, you're just going to have horrible interest rates and horrible credit score. So again, I want to get to a place where we figure out how to prevent stacking. I just don't want to do it in a way in which it's not even feasible, and the industry leaves our state, and we lose a competitive business model that's good for the consumers and good for a tax revenue source for our state. So just want to put that out there.
So I just want to clarify, Delegate. So just to be clear, and I probably may have made this a little more confusing than I should have, but HB 237 only deals with the tipping and the anti-discrimination laws. I only mentioned the stacking part because that is a conversation that has been, being bantered around as the discussion of the cross file is being done.
Right, but I understand that it's an amendment being offered by the Department of Labor, if I'm not mistaken. The stacking, am I mistaken there?
We are not
It's not.
right now. That's a separate issue. Our bill is just the straight one.
Got it. Okay.
We
Understood.
think
We've
it's
provided
go on, Amy.
we've provided some technical support on how this could be affected. But we are not the ones proposing the amendment.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I think it was the AG. I think it was the AG's office. Now I'm rethinking.
Okay.
It was the AG's office that talked about stacking. That's what it was.
Okay, but again, we're not going to take this bill. We're not going to vote this bill out, but I do want to get a sense of what the committee thinks about the tipping and the anti-discrimination language. Is there concerns there? Just so we can address those going forward.
Can I have a question. I don't know if you can see my hand.
I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at the hand screen, so I'm sorry about that. Yes,
Okay.
Delegate Pippi.
Thank you. So I heard something about anti-discrimination language, and then I heard something about, I don't know, I thought it was a consumer protection violation, and I looked at the bill as submitted online, and I don't see any of those things in the bill. So is that a conversation for another day, or are we talking about conceptual things again, or what are we supposed to consider? Just the bill as submitted, or are there other things that might be coming?
No, Delegate, those two provisions are in the bill. They're references to existing language. So I don't have it in front of me because I got to run out and catch a plane. But I think it's towards the end of the bill. There are references back to the commercial law article that includes the anti-discrimination and the anti-unfair and deceptive practice language that everybody else is subject to. So
you're
it's just
talking about 12.304, 12.305, and 12.316?
yes, I believe that's right. Yes.
Okay.
And Andrew is nodding. Yes. So that should be already there.
Well, we're okay. Yeah, it's in the it's in the bill. You're referring to it. I got it. All right. Well then, yeah. Can we definitely not vote on this today? And
Oh no, we're not going to vote on it today. I'm just trying to make sure we have all the concerns. So I'm asking the two pieces that 237 came into us dealing with was tipping and that reference to the anti-discrimination and consumer protection law. So I'm asking, is there heartburn about that so far? That's all I'm asking.
Maybe.
Okay, well, I understand. Delegate Charkoudian, your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I was just reading the testimony. There was a conversation about what are the other proposed amendments, and I would just say there's a number of other proposed amendments. The Attorney General has proposed the stacking amendment, which I think got explained, and the Attorney General is also talking about an amendment to cap the amount per each customer from all sources. So I think the two actually go together, but to the extent we want to understand that, I think we might engage with them on that issue. I think it sounds like Delegate Ampry has questions about how it would be accomplished if no other state has actually implemented it. So that might be something to look into. Other testimony from several other organizations suggested other amendments. I am just scanning them now, so I can't articulate them, but it looked like most of them seemed to get behind at least that other amendment. And I'll just mention we are tracking the conversation in the Senate and what they're interested in moving in the Senate. Obviously, we can move things that aren't consistent with that, but to the extent that we will also be tracking that and see if the House is interested in sort of doing the same thing as what the Senate may be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Delegate Roberts, your hand is up.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Madam Chair. The issue that I guess that I had when we first heard this bill is I guess I just really wasn't clear on what the bill is, because when I'm hearing tips, I didn't know that you tip when requesting a loan, when applying for a loan. I mean, I personally didn't know, when I think of tips, I'm thinking about I'm receiving a service and I'm going to tip you for your efforts and everything. But I've never, so my question is, what is the tip for?
Okay, so when we heard the earned wage access products, there are a variety of products and they operate different ways. But the concept is that they provide advances to customers, the replacement of a payday loan. Some of them charge fees related to time, how long it takes before you receive your money, various sort of, various sort of fees. Others, instead of fees, may say, hey, you know, we got you this loan, you're getting this money early. In lieu of a fee, you could provide a tip. We made the tip default to 0. This is just because their model already has tips in as part of their process for that product. Some particular products, I understand, is only a few, maybe one or so that operate in Maryland that actually ask for tips. In the bill that we passed last year, we said that had to default to 0. So that's how we handled, that was the compromise we came out with last year to make that default to 0, so that products that had tips already as part of their process, would not have to redesign, I guess, their product. So this year we're coming back in and saying, hey, we don't want that tip prompt at all. And so that's what's coming up new. And then there was also, as mentioned, some cleanup language that we were missing as relates to commercial law and consumer protection that we should have had in the bill. So the other parts are more of a technical issue. And then this third part is based on amendments that people have made or suggested with this bill. It relates to this idea of stacking. So that's not in the bill, but something that also may be considered. But did that answer your questions about the tip part?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No problem. Delegate Ambrey?
Yeah, I was just gonna for Delegate Roberts, I was gonna say I had the same questions when the tip thing came about, and think of like GoFundMe or ActBlue when you like do the processing and they ask you at the end, do you want to make a contribution to help keep this alive? So it's kind of like a way that because it's a way they're asking for support to keep their product available for free. But it is weird and not I think only one company does it currently, so it is a weird thing. And conceptually, it makes sense if you think about it in like the GoFundMe and ActBlue space. Just wanted to add that caveat.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we're not going to undertake this bill today in terms of voting on it, but I do want to get a sense of what are the type of questions we need to have. I've heard one suggestion that we need the Office of Attorney General in here to talk about the stacking piece, so we'll make sure we do that. Anything else folks have want more information on so that we can properly entertain this bill at a later date?
Madam Chair, I would offer that in addition to the things that have already been said, there's a number of unfavorable testimony in the bills, and that in and of itself doesn't mean that the bill should move, but to the extent that some of that could be worked out, might be helpful with any amendments if necessary before we actually voted on it.
Sure, yeah. A lot of that is related to the stacking piece and some caps, so I think a lot of that will get addressed there, but understood. Anything else? Delegate Pippy, what would make you happy?
No, I'm good. As long as we're not making any decisions on this today, gives us another chance to kind of talk about it. I'm good with that.
Okay,
Talking about it. Yeah.
any particular organization you think we need here besides the Office of Attorney General? Anybody else we need to bring in to talk? We have OFR and labor. Anybody else?
Not off the top of my head, but I can try to come up with that and reach out to you about it if that's all right.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Anyone else from OFR or Labor have any comments? Any suggestions on what else we may want to undertake in considering this bill?
I do not. I think you've got the landscape.
Okay,
Matt.
thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, if I might, since you are discussing amendments for focus awareness and Delegate Pippy brought up the one, you noted clearly that our bill does two things. The one piece where we talk about referencing the false advertising in 12304 and 12305, the discrimination based on class. That is a spot where we actually are, I think, seeking compromise with some of those that put in some unfavorable testimony. They had indicated that some of the language that we were incorporating by reference, that some of the terms in the consumer loan law did not match the new EWA section of the law that was passed last year. So we are actually totally open and working actually with counsel on redrafting sort of as provisions just in with matching terms in the statute. So I think that's an area where actually we're seeking compromise. I know Delegate Rogers had noted some of the opposition. That's one place where I think we're going to seek an agreement in middle ground.
Okay. All right, anything else? All righty, I appreciate your time and sorry it was a little longer than we expected, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
You have to have a motion to end it or not?
Oh, we do have the motion to end it, do we?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I don't think so, but okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Meeting is all right.